God bless you, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. Um, Today, I just gonna come on just really quick. This is more of a warning, a specific warning to African Americans, and the reason why it's a warning to African Americans is because God wanted me to kind of explain some things. Um, Being African American and feeling like there's a lot of African Americans will identify with this, feeling like there is a lost connection between um, your roots, feeling like there's a loss, not being able to know like exactly where you come from, where your tribe, what tribe you came from, all that sort of thing. There's like a kind of like a hole in one's heart. And then coming over here and trying to assimilate into another culture, which basically is like, and when I say assimilate, it came it came to a point where we began to hate ourselves, meaning, we hated the color of our skin. It was like self-hate. Color of our skin, our hair texture, and just we just began to hate that. This is why, when they do a study with little girls and doll babies, little black girls and doll babies, and they have a black doll and they have a white doll, they'll always, not always, but most of the time, they will pick the white doll because inside of themselves they hate who they are. Now, if you ask the average person walking around, the average adult, they will of course outright reject that. But certainly when I was coming up, there was a tendency to kind of reject your the natural way that you were designed. Let's put it that way. But now things have kind of started to turn in a good way, where black people, like we saw this in the 70s. There was a wave in the 70s where black people were starting to um, love the skin that they were in, love their hair texture. And so in the 70s you saw kind of a rebirth of that. Everybody was rocking their fro and all that stuff. And but then after the 70s, it seemed like there was a swing back to, you know, trying to there was a swing back to, I don't know, straightening your hair and light skin lightening. Um, but then in the 90s, it was a new. There seemed like it was a rebirth of, again, going back to the natural and embracing the way God created you, which is all good things. So, and it's just like things happen. Seems like they happen in cycles. It seems like they're happening in cycles. So it was like the 70s, you know, people started embracing their where they were from. Then you saw a rebirth of that in the 90s, and then it died down. So now here we are in the 2020s, and you're getting a rebirth of that. Now, my warning comes in, well, God's warning comes in. Where his warning comes in is that there is nothing, hear me on this, there is nothing, hear me out, there is nothing wrong with being Afrocentric, meaning you embracing, and when I say Afrocentric, I don't know what anybody else mean, but I'm saying you're embracing the fact that, your lost culture, you are identifying with your the natural way that you were born, with your hair texture, your skin complexion, the fullness of your lips, or whatever, your nose, whatever characteristics come from being um, from the continent of Africa. You're embracing that. Nothing wrong with it. The issue is when you start to cross that line and go over into ancestor worship. So where this becomes a problem is that, if you embracing your culture and your lost culture, let me put it that way, you're embracing that, and you are you want to find things that um, speak to this, speak to that, speak to your African culture. So what is happening is, unbeknownst to us, unbeknownst to a lot of us, we will take in the music of the time, the music that is speaking about, all things African. In the '90s, when I was coming up, there was a singer. I ain't gonna call her by name, but she became very popular in the '90s, and she would always be, talking about, you know, Kemet and ciphers and all this stuff, things that I didn't understand, but yet I was rocking her music and I was, singing it, and there were so many others. It was like this neo soul movement, and I don't know what's out there now, because I don't listen to the radio. I just put on Pandora, and then I select the artists that I want to listen to. But on my Pandora, I do have some artists that you would classify as like this whole, what they call Kemet, which is like speaking about the Egyptian stuff. But if you really listen to some of their music, you will find out they're saying things in there that the typical person is like, what are you talking about? But because the beat is so good, we're not paying attention to that. Because the beat is so good, we just rocking out. We're not paying attention to the words. So when these artists start speaking about these words that we don't understand, a lot of times you'll find out it's connected to Egyptian gods. Um, and so Egyptian gods, ancestors, that sort of thing. Nothing wrong with, um, you know, identifying, your ancestors. See, it's because of the longing of going back to to find out where you're from. It's like there's a deep longing within inside the African Americans that, and I can't speak for everyone, but I know for myself, there was a deep longing to try to find out, like, my story, where am I from, that sort of thing. Because of that deep longing, the enemy plays on that, and so what ends up happening if you fall into this trap, what ultimately the goal of the enemy is to pull you away from Jesus, pull you towards some form of ancestor worship, whether known or unknown, because you can be rocking that music in your house, saying all different types of things that you don't understand, but then you're basically calling on these, what you may or may not think are ancestors, but you're really calling on demons to come and inhabit your house or your home, or your, even your person. So when God first spoke this to me, I was just like, okay, so, what does it have to do with anything? I'm aware of this whole ancestor religion thing, but it kind of resides in the shadows, and it's not really They don't tell you when you're listening to this music, they don't explain, well, listen, what I'm really doing is I'm speaking out these Egyptian gods, or I'm speaking out ancestors, you know, um, and I don't want anybody to get me wrong. I acknowledge what my ancestors did. I acknowledge the fact that what they went through to get me to where I am now. I acknowledge that, but I don't go into worshiping them. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't go into worshiping them. And so God is saying that just be mindful. Watch what you're playing in your house. Watch what music you're playing in your house. Nothing wrong with loving who you are, loving who God made you to be, because ultimately He put you in this body for a reason. He designed you that way. He designed your skin color. He designed your hair texture. He doesn't want anyone to hate who they are, physically speaking, or you know. But there's a fine line. There's a fine line. Basically, you can cross over from just having a cultural identity over into just, unbeknownst to you, ancestor or some Egyptian god worship, unbeknownst to you. But then it could even become to the point where it's not unbeknownst to you. You could just be pulled away, gradually pulled away from Jesus, pulled away from the God you know, and just into some other stuff. And it's happened before with other artists. And what also will happen is a lot of these religions that focus on the African American, a lot of these different religions out there that focus on the African American. So what they'll do is they'll have you eventually turn totally against Christianity. They'll have you turn totally against Jesus, because they'll say that that Christianity was a an instrument to keep people, African Americans, enslaved, to keep us enslaved. So at the end of the day, they'll have you rejecting Christ, because they'll say, see, this is what, quote unquote, the white man has done to keep us enslaved, to keep our mind enslaved, is to use religion to to indoctrinate us and to keep us in line. And so they'll have, especially the young folks, they'll have the young folks just outright rejecting Jesus. And it starts a little here and a little there, and then eventually it's like full blown. You don't want nothing to do with Jesus. You don't want nothing to do with Christianity. So you gotta watch for this, especially for the young folks. Um, but for those of you, there ain't no way that nobody's gonna get you to go away from Christ. This still may apply to you, because you might be playing this music. I feel the Holy Spirit. You might be playing this music in your house, and you don't understand that you're opening up doorways, because you thinking, oh well, this music is just, this has nothing to do with, shoot 'em up, kill 'em, or anything. It's just nice flowing music, and it's just speaking about African roots and this, that, and the other thing. But in the meantime, they're slipping in all different types of names of Egyptian gods and things like that, and you don't even realize. And so, I ain't gonna lie, I think maybe about a week ago, I was blasting some music of the '90s, because I just got so tired of um, some of the Christian music out there. Just seems so repetitive to me, and I'm just like, I need something new. I'm tired of the same old, you know, songs, and I just said, well, ain't nothing wrong with these songs I used to listen to in the '90s. It ain't like it's just all sexual and stuff, So I started to put it on. I put that music on. I went to bed that night and I had three demonic dreams back to back to back, and I was like, what is going on? Because I kept I kept after the first dream, I woke up. I rebuked it. I stationed angels in the room, all that stuff. Went to bed, still had another dream. So the second time I did the same thing, rebuked it and all that stuff, went to bed, still had another demonic dream. So I'm like, what? There must be a door open somewhere, you know. Sometimes you come under the attack, and there's nothing that you have done. There's nothing that, it just sometimes sometimes they slip through for whatever reason. Sometimes they slip through. Maybe it's a learning experience that God wants you. I don't know. Sometimes you don't have to have a door open for it to be spiritually attacked. Um, you can you can look at even Jesus um, when he fasted. He did. Jesus didn't have no door open, but Satan came immediately after he fasted, and after 40 days, Satan came and tried to tempt him. So, what door did Jesus have open? He had no open doors. So sometimes you can be attacked, um, and you didn't do anything to make that thing happen. So, but in this situation, I believe it was tied to the music I was blasting. And I was like, ain't nothing wrong with this music. Ain't really, I'm thinking, ain't nothing wrong with it because it's not talk about shooting them up, sex them up, or nothing like that. It's just some really, chill, just poetry like music, you know. But I'm telling you, the enemy seized on that. Now, see, somebody else might be able to get away and play music like that and not come under attack. But the higher you go up in the Lord, the higher you go up in the Lord, there's no, for other people they can get away with stuff like that. But if you are serious about your walk with God, you can't slip up like that. You can't make those type of decisions because the enemy is looking for any way whatsoever to get in and bring you down. So um, this is like I said, this is not for someone who's just some people might just think, well, this doesn't apply to me, but you can even be someone who's very high up in the Lord and play this music and come under attack. So, and God knows, ain't no that I'm not gonna fall away from the Lord and go following some ancestor and worship them. God knows that. But the fact that I had the music playing will create an opening for the enemy to come in. So, and I'm all for creating openings to have the Lord to come in. So, and you know what? I'm not gonna lie. It was just like it's a little disheartening because these are some of my favorite artists, and I'm like, I gotta let them go. I can't listen to their music no more because they talking about all this. They throwing in Egyptian stuff, and you don't even know. So you don't even know. You just singing along. Yeah, bless you. I love you. Take care until we meet again.